What's up, guys? I'm the Drone Smith, and today I had an idea while I was looking through some comments that I got on some of my videos recently. Actually, it was on the build video of Peter Schriepel's flying car Santa sleigh thing that he did like 5 years ago. Someone said that they wanted to see an updated list of flying car components to see if it had gotten cheaper or better, just what kind of commercial off-the-shelf parts were available for something like that. So today I'm going to take a break from what I've been making videos on recently, which I apologize that I haven't uploaded. I have been doing a lot with my Spider build, my Arducopter, which I do intend to fly on eventually myself, but to be totally honest, I feel like it's not super representative of my skills, and I've just never I've never felt financially comfortable enough to just buy whatever parts I wanted to build something like this. So that is just the cheapest stuff that I had available and parts that I got from some friends. So today I'm going to do a different thought experiment and say, if money were no object, what parts would I buy and how would I build a flying car? And I'm just going to give a disclaimer here. These are components that I would use to build something like this. This is not advice for you to go and build this kind of thing, especially if you don't have experience in this area. Please do not take anything that I say in this video as instructions to go build your own flying car, because that's not the purpose of this. This is for educational purposes only, and it's just kind of a fun thought experiment. So let's dive in. First of all, yeah, I'm gonna be that guy and kind of do a copycat on the Jetson ONE because everybody loves the Jetson ONE, and it's kind of, I don't know, the flagship flying car right now. Basically a flying go-kart is what it is. And I am on their website here. It just looks super sleek. The design is about as good as you're gonna get for something like this right now. So I'm gonna say we're not gonna reinvent the wheel today. In the future, I would love to experiment with some different frames of my own, but if I were just to make a flying car that worked, I would try and model it as closely to this as possible. So with that in mind, first off, the powertrain is arguably the most important part of a flying car, is what decision you're going to make on motors, electronic speed controllers or ESCs, and propellers. So I'm going to look at, well, first of all, we need to work backwards a little bit to decide what kind of motors and propellers we need to be able to lift a sufficient amount of weight. So typically when you're building any kind of drone, you need a thrust to weight ratio of at least 2 to 1. That means that your thrust produced is at least twice the amount that your vehicle weighs. And that allows you to not only hover in place, but also to have some kind of, throttle movement to allow you to move through the air. I made a different video going deeper into that topic. If you guys are interested, I'll link it. I'm not going to go too deep into that today. So first of all, we have to find out what the Jetson ONE weighs. And to do that, I found this article that I've actually referred to many times in the past. But as I came to this page, I see that all the information is magically gone. So once again, either Jetson wanted all that taken down, or eVTOL News decided that it wasn't safe to provide this information to just average people. Maybe if you log in, you can see all that information. I don't know, maybe it's just locked behind a paywall, which is also stupid. But I went to the Wayback Machine, or the Internet Archive, and fortunately, from June of 2024, there is that information on the page. There are some pictures of earlier versions of the Jetson ONE, and right here you can see a whole bunch of specs, although we're going to assume that these specs are outdated and that they actually apply to this early version of the Jetson ONE, which is probably what it is. So we're just going to work with these numbers today because they're still pretty reasonable. So this shows that obviously it has 8 propellers. You have a coaxial quadcopter. It's actually an octocopter because it has 8 motors and propellers, but it's a quad, an X4 configuration. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling over my words here, but it's got 8 propellers and 8 motors. Okay, so It doesn't tell us specifically what it weighs, but we're just gonna guess. This early version weighed about 300 pounds, which sounds about right for all this metal, the motors, especially the batteries, which are heavy, and then the person, you've got to add the body weight of the pilot. So about 300 pounds sounds about right for that kind of thing. So the total thrust right here shows that it's 662 pounds, or 300 kilograms. Now, in order to see what kind of thrust we need to achieve per motor to be able to reach those numbers to basically copy this, to be a copycat, we're going to do 662 divided by 8 motors is about 83 pounds of thrust per motor. So now we're going to work with that. We need about 83 pounds of thrust. Now, I would go with T-motor, motors, propellers, ESCs, first because it's kind of the flagship brand in this industry. I know America is trying to move away from Chinese stuff, but this is basically the highest quality drone motors, propellers, and ESCs that you're going to find in the market right now, in my opinion. And a lot of people agree with that. So fortunately, T-motor makes our job easy. And if money were no object, I would go straight for a manned aircraft rated motor, propeller, and ESC combo. So this is the U-15L. This is actually a little bit, I think this is the smallest one of these options, but it's still a little bit bigger than what I'm looking for. So the U-15-2 right here is what I'm going to work with. It shows right here that it's for freight transport and manned UAV programs. So it's specifically built to have the reliability to fly a person on it. We're going to look at the specs for the KV-80, the 80 kV model. I'm going to scroll down here. I clicked on specs right here. You see that? So normally the page is on detail information. I'm clicking on specifications, scroll down, and test data. So we're going to look for the highest amount of thrust in any configuration. You can see it. This is the 80 kV model. This is the 100. I'm going to look at the 80 right now, and that's with a 40-inch prop. The thrust is 36,000 grams, 36,500 grams. And you can see that with a higher KV, you actually have a slightly lower peak thrust. So we're going to go with a lower KV, which means a higher torque, lower speed, which is able to spin a bigger prop, which is more efficient. And you get 36,500 grams of thrust. And that's, by the way, that's on 60 volts, which is a 14S battery. I'm going to dive into all of this in just a second, okay? So 36,500 grams of thrust. Let me look at my numbers really quick. You know what? Forget that. Let's just go to the calculator here. If we want 36.5 kilograms times 2.2, you get about 80.3 pounds of thrust per motor, propeller, ESC, battery, whatever combo. So 80 pounds of thrust is pretty close to the roughly 83 pounds of thrust that we calculated that we would need to match, to basically copy the thrust of the Jetson ONE. So we're going to go with this combo. It says, obviously, you got your U-15-2 KV-80 motor here, which you can see is almost 700 bucks. So once again, good thing we're pretending that we have all the money in the world. This says that you're going to use a T-motor 40-inch prop, and that's the pitch of the prop, 13.1 inches. And right here it's in relevant products. So here's your 40 by 13.1 inch prop. That's going to run you about 500 bucks per pair. Yeah, and then also this ESC goes pretty nicely with it. It says it's 14S, so that's what I was saying about a 60 volt battery. For those of you who don't know, and if you don't know this, please do not attempt to build a flying car anytime soon. But 14S refers to the number of cells in the battery. That's 14 cells, which has a nominal voltage of 3.7 volts per cell. Fully charged, it's 4.2 volts per cell, which gets you close to about 60 volts. So you would use this, you'd need 4 packs of these 40-inch props, 4 pairs. You would need 8 of these ESCs, and you would need 8 of these motors. Obviously, the ESCs are also about 500 bucks a pop, so not super cheap. But when you're dealing with your life, you'd want to, splurge a little bit because you're going to be flying on this thing. Not literally, don't do this, okay? Just for educational purposes only, obviously. Okay, so we have the powertrain down. I guess while I'm on this topic, I'm going to talk about the battery for just a second. Obviously, we said it's a 14S battery. So I would go with a Tattu battery because Tattu is also kind of a flagship brand for the industry. This is probably what I would use. I'd probably do a little bit more research before actually buying this, but I'm familiar with Tattu. They're a really great product. This is a smart battery pack, which I have a few of these, not 14S, I have a few 12S smart battery packs from Tattu, and they auto discharge if they're fully charged, but whatever, I don't need to go into those details. This will suffice for what you need. I'd probably do, I haven't run the calculations for how long you'd be able to stay in the air with a certain number of batteries. Obviously, every battery that you add is going to, it'll add a bit of flight time, but then you have to compensate for the weight of the battery, which these things are not light. So I'd probably start with, for testing, I'd get at least 2 of these 14S batteries, and I would run them in series so that you're still at a 14S voltage, and then you have 44,000 milliamp hours, which is pretty solid. Again, I don't know what exactly the Jetson ONE uses, but that's a good starting point. Okay, and last but not least, maybe even most important, is the flight controller. There's a few options for flight controller, but I would definitely stick with something that is redundant. There are several options on the market that have redundancy built in, like the QGroundControl. This is something that you'd be able to use with Mission Planner. You'd be able to put Arducopter or Ardupilot on this, and you'd have to do some tuning for sure, because these are generally made for smaller drones, smaller aircraft, so you'd have to do some tuning. And if you don't believe me, go watch some of my other videos of my giant drones that really suck at flying right now. I'm currently in the process of tuning, and I'll be providing some updates on that soon, but anyway, that's another tangent. You would need an autopilot that has redundancy. You can see right here that this has triple redundant IMU sensors for extra redundancy, and 2 sets of IMUs are vibration isolated mechanically. So you want redundancy because if one of them fails, you want to have something to fall back on. And instead of just falling out of the sky or starting to do flips with you on it, it'll just fall back to the other one, throw an error, and then probably hopefully trigger a failsafe and land you safely. That's the best case scenario. So that's one option, is a QGroundControl Plus. Here's another Cube option. It says that it's a beta version for development purposes only, but in the near future, hopefully this is the kind of thing that you'll be able to use for this purpose also. Again, this is just what I, with a brief amount of research have found. Please don't do any of this without your own research. A Cube Red shows down here, and once again, I guess I'll correct what I said a second ago about using Ardupilot with a Cube. You can also use PX4 on it and fly QGroundControl. I prefer, when using a Cube, I just prefer Ardupilot. This has, there we go. It's got 3 barometers. It's got 4 accelerometers and 1 compass. And you'd probably put an external compass on it anyway, which will be paired with your GPS module, which you'll probably want to have multiple of those also. But I'm not going to go into that right now. That's not essential to just get up and flying. So this is another good option for plenty of redundancy. And then one other option I'm just going to throw out there. This is the Pixhawk 6X. Pixhawk is a fantastic brand. I definitely probably get it from Holy Bro. And a Pixhawk 6X, you could use this. I personally would use this with QGroundControl and put PX4 on it. This also has redundancy. It's got 3 IMU sensors and 2 barometers. So the most important thing here is that whatever kind of autopilot you get, you need to have some kind of redundancy, and you also need to do lots of tuning and testing before you actually fly it really very much at all, and definitely before you get a person on it. I have been building giant drones for quite a while. Like I said, I've never had the luxury of an unlimited budget, and so a lot of my builds are pretty ugly. And I'll be the first to admit that, and I'm honestly kind of embarrassed with some of the quality of some of the ones I've put out in videos in the past, just because I haven't had access to a lot of resources. But I do what I can, and I think I have some pretty entertaining videos. So if you guys are interested, I'll do a more detailed video in the near future of, I don't know, maybe I'll do some modeling and actually do some more math to calculate the all-up weight of something like this. Just let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.